piggybacking off of that now, I know the next item on our agenda is cryptocurrency. So
Yeah.
I'm going to briefly talk about my understanding of cryptocurrency. Obviously, it's something that not a lot of people fully understand yet.
Yeah,
So
Bitcoin's been booming, man. Bitcoin has been booming, and like everybody's on that hype.
Yeah, exactly. But it seems like some people are just investing in it just out of like FOMO, right? Like they don't really understand what's going on, but because it's like the flavor of the month, like people are just investing in it. So I'm not going to go into like a lot of detail on cryptocurrency in this episode. Maybe we can do a special cryptocurrency episode later on.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the differences between the rise we saw in Bitcoin, for example, in 2017 versus now, and see like whether it's sustainable or what the key differences are that would drive it higher, right? We already know Bitcoin kind of blew past its all-time high, but today it's down about 10%. So we got to keep a close eye on that. But one of the things that I want to point out is that in the 2017 Bitcoin run, it was mostly driven by retail investors like me and you, right? So there was obviously just as much hype, if not more, back then. I know you saw crazy stories on Twitter where people would put their houses on sell it, and then put it all into Bitcoin. And obviously that didn't end too well with prices dropping from close to 20K back to all the way to 3K per coin, right?
So it went up all the way to 20K back in like 2017, and I think it was like around like 7K where like the hype began, and it kept rising and rising. It was basically a bubble, and then it went down again, and people weren't educated enough, and they put all their earnings and stuff like that into it, and then it didn't turn out well, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. But so one of the key differences I see here, obviously we've had significant growth again. I think Bitcoin actually doubled in value over the last month and a half or so, which is absolutely crazy. But
huge bubble.
That's the fact of the matter. But I think the key difference here is that now we see a lot more institutions who have actually researched what cryptocurrency is and the value it can provide. So you see a lot of institutional investment now along with the retail investment, right? I feel when there's a lot of institutions buying into something, they've done a lot more due diligence, they see the benefits, and they see how they can adopt it, right? And I think they're actually going to start introducing cryptocurrency futures. I know Bitcoin's starting, Ethereum's going to start doing their own futures contracts. So I think it's getting a lot more legitimate than it was back in 2017. So I don't necessarily think it's going to crack the same way. Obviously, when the stock when anything really goes up this much so quickly, it's due for a little bit of a pullback. But I don't really think it's going to drop the same way it did back in 2017.
You brought up Ethereum, and I was just curious, what's your thought on Ethereum? Because everybody talks about Bitcoin, but like, what's your thought on Ethereum? I know right now it's around like 1,300 Canadian dollars, and it is rising as I've been keeping an eye on it. But like, what are your thoughts on it?
So I've done a little bit of research into Ethereum. From my perspective, my understanding right now, I feel Ethereum's technology is actually a little bit more advanced than Bitcoin's. So when I did research, I found out like you can actually program it to save and invest in its own via like smart contracts, which Bitcoin doesn't have. But given that Ethereum is actually an unlimited supply right now, whereas Bitcoin does have a limited supply, that could keep Ethereum's price from going parabolic the same way that Bitcoin's has. But I know they've also been working on things like Ethereum 2.0, which would actually serve to, they would serve to cap the supply or limit the production of it, which would actually be good for its price, and it can go a lot higher that way. I know in 2020, actually, Ethereum vastly outperformed Bitcoin, so it could do that again this year. I think it has a lot more runway than a Bitcoin would at this point.
Yeah, the only thing is that like Bitcoin owns around 70% of the crypto market right now, so that's why like their prices are like booming. But like you said, Ethereum is something to keep an eye on for Bitcoin investment.
Yeah, and you know what? The whole market for crypto is working it's unique, because when Bitcoin's steady, it seems like the altcoins like Ether, for example, outperform it. But the second you see a substantial rise in Bitcoin, it seems like the other altcoins don't perform as well.
70% thing. It's a 70%
exactly
thing.
Like it seems like the investors almost sort of get bored of Bitcoin's stagnant growth. Right? And then they go into the altcoins, but when they see Bitcoin start ramping up again, they dump their altcoins and buy Bitcoin. So it's working a little bit differently than we're used to. The other thing I wanted people to, our viewers to be wary of is the fact that people think that crypto is really a hedge against the market. But it does seem to actually react to market weakness, as we saw last week when the capital was stormed. First of all, the broad market was reacting negatively to it as well.
Yeah.
But crypto also reacted to it. So really, when people think that cryptocurrency is completely independent of what's happening in the broad market, that's not entirely true. Yeah. So there is a correlation there. So that's something that you do have to keep in mind, because even if you are an investor in Bitcoin, if you see market weakness, I think the tendency is to sell that and just hold your US dollars or your Canadian dollars, whatever it may be, right? So I think everyone needs to be a little bit careful thinking that it's uncorrelated with the market in general.
Yeah, it definitely is related with the market and like the events happening around the world. You made a good point there. Yeah, and Ethereum is a coin to look out for and to put maybe look into investing into, like you said, because of its features and how like its algorithms run. And we'll get into too much detail, but like there is a significant difference about between their two algorithms and how they're run. So.